is much we can learn from each other if we can negotiate a truce. We can find a way to coexist. Can there be a peace between us? What is it you want us to do?
According to Hollywood, advanced alien life forms have a fetish for planetary invasions. Since 1950, of the 250 alien-themed films I studied, I found that 75% of these science fiction films contained a storyline with an evil alien invasion. Further, 91% put the alien as an evil monster from space who wanted to kill and wipe out humanity. Now, while the general public has seen this as entertainment, movies like The War of the Worlds, The Thing, It Came from Outer Space, Battle Los Angeles, District 9, or Independence Day, which is a classic demonstration of a movie that is not entertainment. It is propaganda dressed up as entertainment. And the people, the organization behind this evil alien propaganda is the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. What the CIA have done is they've implanted this evil alien thought into the human psyche. So we all have this evil alien thought implant. And that has enabled them to misconstrue, to mischaracterize interstellar life forms. And that has prevented any interstellar reconciliation. Because if you think of an alien, and if you're afraid of the alien, then the alien will never come to visit you. Now, this is a complex discussion because it's hard to provide evidence when this information is highly classified information. But the Central Intelligence psychologists knew something very important. They knew that society believed in aliens. The society, since even before the 50s, they believed that we were not alone in the universe. So the CIA couldn't change that fact. So what they had to do was they had to separate the alien from humanity. And how do you do that? How do you separate an advanced alien life form that people generally accept? You create an evil alien. Yes, there are other life forms in outer space, but they're all evil and they want to kill humanity. That was when the evil alien movie was started. The industry, the Hollywood film factory, was used to sell this evil alien propaganda.
It had tendrils on it.
The one at Elizabeth's place was duplicating her.
And if Matthew hadn't taken me out of there, the same thing that's happened to Jeffrey would have happened to me.
Elizabeth, would you please tell me, in your opinion, exactly what is happening?
People are being duplicated.
So the CIA had to contract Hollywood filmmakers, often sending filmmakers as producers, as screenwriters, who would then contact a film studio, even film financiers, who would say, we will back this film if you produce it. Because the CIA, if the CIA produces a film, it's called a CIA film. If the CIA writes a screenplay and attaches one of their agents as a producer, and then they go to 20th Century Fox, who produced Independence Day, and they say, listen, we have this science fiction script, and it involves a military alien invasion. If you produce it, we will provide X number of dollars for financing, but we need you to validate it with your giant film studio. So they go to the president of 20th Century Fox with a screenplay, and he automatically says it's a good idea. He automatically greenlights the project. It becomes a 20th Century Fox film. Independence Day goes on to generate over $300 million in domestic box office, over $800 million in international box office. So what has happened? The CIA using a 20th Century Fox as a conduit for disinformation and propaganda, and 20th Century Fox not realizing it or not caring, they go out and they create $1 billion of disinformation. $1 billion of disinformation, and it originates from the CIA, and it goes through the filmmaker. In this case, Independence Day was directed by Roland Emmerich and co-written with himself and Dean Devlin. Now, a lot of people will wonder, well, how can you be sure that the Central Intelligence Agency and the National Security Agency and the National Security Council are behind these anti-alien films? Because 91% of the last 250 films, all the aliens are evil. All of them want to kill humanity. We are not to go into space. People are afraid to go into space. This is another one of their purposes. We do not want humanity thinking of space travel. Because if you go into space, you will meet a space monster. It's a serial killer with acid blood and claws and fangs and can replicate, and it cannot be stopped with bullets, and it will kill you. So the human mind is not only afraid of aliens, it's afraid of going into space. Now, if you dial back to 1947. 1947 was when the Central Intelligence Agency was started. Part of the National Security Reorganization under the National Security Act of 1947, signed into office by President Truman in late July of 1947. That Security Act then brought into focus the Central Intelligence Agency, the National NSA, the NSC, later the Pentagon. All of these the national security apparatus started in July 1947. So how can I say that the CIA is behind this anti-alien propaganda? Well, we only have to go back a couple of weeks. In 1947, in early July, there was a flying saucer crash in Roswell, New Mexico. So July 8, there is a flying saucer crash acknowledged in the newspaper, acknowledged by the military before there was a cover-up. That was the springboard for the national security apparatus, because the story told to Americans was that the National Security Act was to protect Americans from foreign threats. But the truth is that the National Security Act was to prevent another Roswell.
Leaving to go where?
Earth.
Why?
Sometimes to create, one must first destroy.
They have essentially continued this evil alien thought implant by this repeated release of these science fiction films. So now that they've created this thought implant, they only need to reinforce this mind control instrument in order to remind people that even though there may be extraterrestrial life forms, they want to kill you. And if you look at the terms like alien, extraterrestrial, ET, EBE, extraterrestrial biological entity, all of those terms are CIA terms, because they're not terms that human beings or scientists would come up with. These are intelligence terms, these are military terms, because the whole thing is contained under the military. So when you go see an alien movie, you are seeing a CIA-funded film. And, when they create the alien, it's always a monster. And then they tell you this monster is going to kill you. And then in the movie, the military and the hero has to fight to survive. And it's very simple to say that you can create anything. You can create anything and make people afraid of it. You could have, if you take a supermodel with black hair, if you take a supermodel with black hair and she comes to any man's house, any straight man's house, and she knocks on the door and she says, "Can I come in?" Any man would say, "Yes, please come in." Now, to change that simple idea, we cast a supermodel with black hair in a movie. And this model with black hair is evil. This model is an assassin, is a killer, is a black widow, is a murderer, is a psychopath. She kills everybody. Every man who meets this beautiful girl with black hair ends up dead. And we make this movie and we sell this movie around the world. Now, after the years go by, if a supermodel with black hair comes to your house and says, "Can I come in?" the man will not open the door. And that's all that they had to do, is to create this evil space monster. And all of the aliens are space monsters. They have glowing eyes. They have acid blood. They can be spores. They can be evil bacteria. They can be smaller aliens in biomechanical suits with tentacles. There's always tentacles involved. They could be gelatinous matter. They can be blobs. They can be giant cockroaches. They could be giant spiders. They could be walking trees, plants. Everything is an alien, and it comes from outer space, and it can kill you. So what happens to the interstellar reconciliation? The interstellar reconciliation does not take place because we are afraid of anything. If it is not from Earth, we are afraid of it. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a toaster. If it's from outer space, we won't want to buy a toaster anymore. So they've created this implant, they've created this evil alien character, and it's all spun by the Central Intelligence Agency. And then you see, behind the scenes, you have something quite unique. You have something quite special going on that people don't know about. You see, behind the scenes, the interstellar cultures are negotiating with the government. They're negotiating with the military. Behind the scenes, there are negotiations. Why are there negotiations? Because the military has a standard policy to shoot down any UFO, because they want to take the technology. They want to back engineer the technology in order to improve their own military operations. They want the technology in order to fight against the alien cultures. So they have a standard policy: shoot down the ships. You've had that in Roswell, but there were other ships that were shot down. So the interstellar community says, well, you have to stop shooting down our ships. And the government says, well, what will you give us if we cooperate with you? They say, well, we would like you to tell everybody that we are here and that we mean them no harm, and that we at some point would like to meet them, because we are all connected. We are all one big happy family. So the intelligence agencies and the government says, okay, but it's too soon to do that. Society is not ready. In the meantime, we would like some of your technology. In exchange for your technology, we promise not to shoot down your ships. So the interstellar agencies, they provided technology, they provided scientific knowledge, they provided knowledge of genetic manipulation to these intelligence bodies in exchange for this cooperation. But the intelligence agencies are not in the business of fulfilling their promises with advanced agencies. So that led to a very unique agreement in 1964. In 1964, an agreement was ratified that detailed the cooperation between an interstellar group and a set of 4 nations, chiefly Europe as a collection of nations, the People's Republic of China, the Soviet Union, and the United States of America. 1964, there was these 4 major Earth governments signed an agreement with these star nations. The star nations would provide technology, scientific ideas, and help in other matters, advice, and the Earth governments would reciprocate, and all of this cooperation would lead to an eventual disclosure. That's the promise. We will provide you this information that will help society deal with a disclosure being that we are not alone. So the people who attended, there's a meeting in 1961 in London, attended by the likes of Khrushchev, leader of the Soviet Union, Queen Elizabeth II, Henry Kissinger, David Rockefeller, a representative of China, of Mao Zedong. You've had these very prominent people. The Queen of England goes there in 1961, and they all meet these extraterrestrial people. They sign, they make an agreement, it's ratified in 1964. So everything is set, but behind the scenes, they're still making this anti-alien propaganda, right? They're still making these evil alien invasion movies. Still today, they're making evil alien invasion movies. So the idea is this. If I say to you, I will do a disclosure when society is ready, right? When the people are ready, we will tell them the truth. Now, my other agencies, like the CIA, is out there writing screenplays about evil alien invasions. They're promoting evil alien movies. The evil alien movies have created this thought implant that scares people of any alien contact, scares people from even going into space. So now the people are scared. They're scared of aliens. They're scared of space. They're scared of being eaten. They're scared of being abducted. They're scared of being visited. So now the interstellar agencies are told, well, we can't do a disclosure because the people aren't ready. So they do an investigation. They realize the people aren't ready. But the people aren't ready because the CIA is pushing all of this propaganda. If you look at the history of the Earth, if you dial back 6,000 years or 7,000 years, and you look at the history, you look at the biblical documentation, you look at historical texts, you look at all the books written, all the manuscripts that have survived, you will not find any evidence of any kind of alien invasion. You will find talk of angels, you will find talk of demons, you will find talk of other things, but you will not find a global invasion. You will not find the destruction of the earth from motherships. So we're talking 6,000 years. So you go back 5,000 years, there's no evidence. 4,000 years, there's no evidence. 3,000 years, there's no evidence. Up until today, the modern day, there's no evidence of any military invasion from the sky. There are no alien invasions on this planet. So where did the idea of an evil alien invasion come from if it doesn't come from truth, if it doesn't come from history? If it doesn't come from history, where does it come from? It comes from the CIA. So when you get a film like Independence Day, you got Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin selling this idea of a global invasion by motherships to 20th Century Fox. Fox is out there to make money. And if these alien invasion movies make money, we will make the film. War of the Worlds made money. Battle of Los Angeles made money. But you look at who's behind this information. If it doesn't exist in history, if there's no evidence, where does the idea come from? It comes from the CIA. It comes from psychological operations. So if Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin do not work for the CIA, they are what we would call a CIA asset. And the CIA asset goes to 20th Century Fox and uses them as a workhorse. Because the 20th Century Fox may or may not know anything. And the president probably has no clue what's going on. And he doesn't understand that the CIA is behind all these evil alien invasion films. So he says, I'll make the film. They're going to make a sequel in 2016, another Independence Day. on more alien invasion, more evil aliens in biomechanical suits, probably more ships, more battles, more explosions. But all of this is a concoction, and all of this is backed by this national security apparatus. And you go back to 2011 with Battle Los Angeles, you have a world invasion from aliens. A world invasion from aliens. And throughout the whole movie, nobody knows why the aliens have invaded. We haven't even established where they're from. We don't know anything. It's just that the military is fighting these evil invaders. And there's one line about halfway through the film. The guy asks, the military asks, why are they trying to destroy us? And some soldier says, well, we have lots of water. They probably want our water. It's a natural resource. That's the only evidence, that's the only reason that an advanced interstellar culture would destroy every man, woman, and child on the planet. Now, clearly, the producer of Battle LA, which was Neil Moritz, is either a CIA or he's a CIA asset. In either case, he's working on their side and he's well connected to the propaganda machine. I'm going to read some famous lines, taglines from alien-themed movies to give you an idea that they're all designed for one purpose. The one purpose is to scare humanity from ever meeting an alien life form and to scare humanity from ever traveling into space. Because if you travel into space, you will be eaten. So War of the Worlds, 1953, they came to conquer the Earth. Then you have War of the Worlds in 2005. They're already here because the alien left machines in the Earth to destroy humanity. They already planned to wipe out the human race. In the movie Alien, 1979, in space, no one can hear you scream. It's a horror movie, which is another problem with these alien movies. Most of them are horror films. Most of these alien-themed movies are horror films, or what is called science fiction. In Aliens, the sequel, 1986, this time it's war. In Independence Day, 1996, they only want one thing, destruction. And, you know, the Thing, 1982, what you fear most is among you. Because alien creatures can infect humans, and the humans then become your enemy. Don't trust anybody. Don't trust the foreigner. Don't trust the alien. Don't trust your neighbor. Don't trust space. It's all fear. Fear propaganda comes from only one place. It comes from the propagandists. Here's a quote from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. I think it sums up the interstellar situation, because this is a lot of the justification for the alien presence here. Dr. David Kibner says, "We came here from a dying world. We drift through the universe from planet to planet, pushed on by the solar winds. We adapt and we survive. The function of life is survival." I mean, that's a good summary of the nature of an alien. They come here to survive. They need water to survive. They're going to kill everybody to obtain that water, because it wouldn't make any sense to negotiate with the world for its water, because it's not like It's not like we have a lot of water. The 70% of the earth is water. They can't come here and negotiate for the water. They have to murder everybody. In Independence Day, the President of the United States asks the alien, when they captured him in the lab, they says, "Why are you doing this to us? What do you want from us? Can we negotiate?" And the alien says, "We want you to die." That's what they want. There's no justification. There's no impetus. There's no reason. They just want humanity to die. The problem is that moviegoers think this is entertainment because they don't realize who is funding, who is writing these screenplays. CIA, NSA, NSC. They may present themselves as screenwriters. They may present themselves as financiers, producers. There are a lot of producers who come from the CIA. You know, the CIA is not going to, a CIA agent who wants to produce a film is not going to say, "I'm a CIA agent." He says, right? Because that would contradict the whole nature of the spy business, which is denial, denial, denial. So they're never going to admit it, but we can identify them by their intention. Because we know in 1947, the NSA, NSC, the CIA, the Pentagon were all formed. 1947. We know they were formed with less than 3 weeks after the Roswell crash. So we know that there's some connection between the Roswell crash, which created a potential public catastrophe, for information would get out, cause a public panic. So they had to contain that information. They installed a big cover-up. Now, in order to prevent any kind of contact, they've created this evil alien apparatus. So we know that the CIA, only the CIA would foster these evil aliens. Because in the normal sense of the world, in the normal sense of the word, if you were to make a movie about something important, if you were to make a movie about a historical event, you would do the research on the historical event to accurately portray the characters of the event, and you would accurately portray the event itself. But when they make these alien films, there's no research. They're not interviewing anybody who has met aliens. In fact, they're only selling the same thing over and over again. Scary monster, big fangs. They have an intention to wipe out the human race. This is it's a strange position because the information is classified on one hand, and the information provided is disinformation. So the only place you can go is the UFO community. The UFO community is also controlled by the NSA and the NSC. They have agents who pretend they're UFO experts. They have UFO skeptics trying to create new disinformation. They have ex-military and ex-CIA people go in there and say, "I know the truth. I have secret information." So the UFO community is controlled. You have to control the UFO community. And those people you can't control, you cause harm to their life. You cause them to lose their job. You cause them to be laughed at, ostracized. You ruin them financially. You censor their information. You say bad things about them, defamatory remarks. You send in a skeptic to destroy their reputation. So the UFO community is fragmented and it's dealing with its own issues. And you know they're fragmented because they don't agree. They're in mostly disagreement. They're having their own infighting. There's never been a disclosure. The government has publicly stated that UFOs, extraterrestrials, do not exist. They have never appeared. They have never contacted humans in any significant way. So the government has denied any contact. So you're welcome to believe in aliens, but the only place you can find the aliens are in the movies. And in the movies, these aliens are written by the Central Intelligence Agency, Psychological Operations. And all they're doing now is they're reinforcing that evil alien thought implant already in your head. They're reinforcing it because it's so well structured. You're talking about 60 years. So you're talking about not only you, you're talking about your children and your parents and maybe even your grandparents all believe in the same thing. There are aliens out there, but they're all evil. And that's all thanks to the national security apparatus. Because none of it is true. It's all just a fiction. It's all a manipulation.